Let's dive into like the psychology around the tithing, being the faithful servant. Everybody knows a grandma that's been going to the same church for 40 some odd years, and she has been giving 10% of her salary all the way into 10% of her pension into a church, but is still struggling, right? Like, I guess sometimes I think about the faithfulness in which people tithe. That same faithfulness is absent in them managing their financial means. And I wonder if the church has a responsibility to its members to ensure that, one, they're financially educated, and two, they are making, like, you're not giving out of your lack, if you will.
Right. And I think for the latter, like, there shouldn't be really, there shouldn't be that concept of giving out of your lack at all.
I think one of the scriptures I used to hear a lot about is that the woman and her the two pet
yes, the one who has like the faithful widow,
right?
widows.
The faithful right?
Yes.
You hear that scripture a lot to say, hey, she didn't have anything, but she gave this thing, and then God blessed her, right? So it's like that. You talked about the faith checks and stuff like that. So it's like the idea of, I'm giving my tithes, which is a beautiful thing to be charitable. I think all faiths have a component of giving back to the community and being of service. But the idea that, tithing, and again, this is, I guess, based on church by church, but we see it prevalently within our communities. Tithing kind of goes above your own saving, right? You're like your personal investments, your personal savings. You give your tithes, like you said, give of your first fruit kind of thing.
So I guess to keep on hone in on that is like, do you feel, as an elder in the church, do you feel responsibility? If you knew someone's financial situation, would you feel obligated to say, hey, I know you've been tithing faithfully, but I know personally your situation, and maybe you need to take care of home first before.
Right.
Have you ever?
I don't. That's a very unique situation. I think primarily, like, within a church, you should be promoting, like, being a good steward of your finances, right? Because, like, coming from a Christian worldview, we believe that everything that we have gained or we have has been given to us by God, right? So we're really supposed to be caretakers of what we've been given, right? So in turn, like, any sort of giving that we do, like, whether it be charitable or towards the church or even just dealing with our bills and stuff like that, we're trying to think through, how can we be as faithful as we can with what's been given to us, knowing that we're not going to be able to take it with us. We didn't necessarily get it on our own, and as well, these possessions are, in essence, in their entirety, not really ours. They're really God's, and we should be using them in a way that's responsible. So if, like, to answer your question, so if I knew somebody was being, like, super irresponsible with their finances, they're not being a good steward, they're leaving, like, say they're not taking care of their family, but they're spending a lot of, like, finances on something else, and it's just completely just open, because some stuff is subjective, you may not know all this stuff, but it would probably behoove me to say, like, is that the wisest thing for you to be doing right now?
But I guess because the message is coming from someone on the pulpit, they're thinking, well, hey, like, we talked about, these televangelists, these leaders of mega churches, pushing this idea of prosperity gospel and so on and so forth, and they think it's almost like they're buying a lottery ticket with their last. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the sense of, like, listen, Pastor so-and-so says, if I give, all my pension check, I have to have faith, and my faith is going to make sure that I, get tenfold of whatever it is that I'm giving, right? Like, I kind of think that some of the responsibility, yes, as individuals, we have to be responsible for ourselves, but we also know in our culture how the huge role that church plays. I mean, there's many people that will forsake their spouse because of what the pastor said, right? So that response, right? That's definitely an abuse, right? Yeah. So it's we can't. I'm wary of blaming the victim of abuse because when it's systemic and it's generational, and these are ideas that are like
baked in,
tied to our culture, our cultural identity. How can we break that? And if my personal opinion, I think that it's the responsibility of ministers like yourself, the next generation of ministers, to kind of break those ties.